Dumb, cool,
weird
podcast. Hello there. Welcome to the Dumb, Cool, Weird podcast. And today we will be talking about Toxic Avenger. That's right, Lloyd Kaufman. I'm talking to you at Troma Entertainment. You guys gave me a distribution deal for all my crap films movies, and I really appreciate that. So me and Nick tackled one of y'all's classic movies, and let me tell you, we fucking love this shit.
It was amazing.
Yes, this movie is fucking hilarious.
It's gold.
It's gold. Basically, it is take every stereotype from the 80s and just throw it into a movie, and that's
with the horror themes of the 80s as well.
Yes. Because what happens in this movie is they take every fucking violent stereotype you can think of from a movie, including child violence, by the way, and they just fucking roll with it. So this movie starts off with, us being in, Tromaville, a town outside of New York that is the radioactive waste capital of the world, apparently.
Yep.
And we start off at the Tromaville gym, and we see people working out at the gym and doing coke,
smoking their cigarettes.
They even were progressive for the time because they had the two gay guys.
They had the gay hairdressers,
working out at the gym
in their thongs.
Yes. And then they also had the bullies who
were also the town psychopaths.
Yeah, the town psychopaths. So they're like it's a 2-for-1. And then you had Melvin, who is our main character, who is a
little nerd.
He's a nerd.
But he didn't deserve what he got.
No, he didn't. So basically what ends up happening, though, is we see the goons, the bad guys, the psychopaths, and basically we see them getting mad at Melvin, and they're talking about how much just for existing. And then we get to see a little bit about their life and what they like to do. And these sick fucks, they like to go out at night and drink and fucking run over little kids.
Well, remember, a lot of other racist remarks before that. They liked hurting a lot of people, especially cripples and children, as they say.
Cripples, children, Jews, black people, everybody. Everybody.
They had a point system, which was the fucked part.
And kids were the highest points.
Yeah.
And I think the women were more sadistic than the men.
Yeah, because they got turned on and jerked off about it.
Yeah, because they'd get their Polaroid cameras out. How dated is that? And they would take pictures of the dead body. The little kids' brains are splattered everywhere, and they're taking photos of it.
Yeah, and and then later on, it's sauna masturbation time for them.
Yep, pretty much. So what ends up happening, though, is they hate Melvin, they pick on Melvin, and then they basically decide to come up with a way to fuck with Melvin really hard. So what they end up doing is they decide that they're going to fucking make him kiss a goat, in the gym. So they basically trick Melvin with one of the hot girlfriends. He kisses the goat. He gets really embarrassed. They chase him. And at that time, some guys who are driving barrels of toxic waste are doing coke.
Yeah, and they decided they just park in front of the gym where Melvin works.
Yeah, and they're literally just doing bags of coke. And Melvin jumps out the window, lands into the nuclear waste, fucking catches on fire
head first. By the way,
yeah. And
the cop caught on fire touching it, but Melvin just got severely fucked.
Yeah, and he's running down the street trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, and everybody's just like, holy shit, what happened to him? And then he just fucking takes off. And while he's gone, he goes home, and his mom's knocking on the door, being like, "Melvin, are you okay?"
Melvin's trying to take a cold bath or something just to get it off his skin.
And his fucking muscles are pulsating because, he's mutating. And then she's like, "Oh, he's hitting puberty."
Oh, it's puberty. It finally happened.
Yep. And he's just sitting there in the bathtub and it's screaming. And then he goes through the transformation and he becomes, the Toxic Avenger. It's this big, muscular, freaky-looking dude.
Looks like Sloth with bigger muscles.
Yeah, pretty much. By the way, I forgot to mention the mayor.
The corrupt mayor who's fucking his sandwich, basically.
Yeah, he's getting this big, obese guy is just getting rubbed down, and he's laying next to a sandwich, and he's caressing the sandwich, by the way. He's making love to it.
Yeah.
And
then he eats it.
And then he eats it, yes.
And it was funny because it's later on, we get our first action scene of the Toxic Avenger helping
Cigar Face?
No, yeah, he's preventing Cigar Face, the drag queen, and the normal thug.
Yeah.
The only thug that was normal, there was one normal thug and everyone else
was really weird because they're calling everybody else faggots and then they're hanging out with the drag queen and I'm just like, what?
Was it actually, wasn't the other guy like a leather daddy?
Yeah, I think he was a leather daddy.
Yeah,
So it's really weird. I don't know what the joke was there. Maybe it kind of went over my head a little bit, but like Scarface is calling
Cigar Face also looked really gay too. So it's like
Yeah.
1980s stereotype gay.
yeah, but the drag queen gets it the worst because remember he pokes his eyes out.
Yeah, but he bites Cigar Face. He doesn't he chop off Cigar Face's nose.
Yes, he does.
And then the other guy didn't get a
No,
redemption.
no, he didn't. He died. No, I mean, well, that guy died, and then the drag queen.
Got the eyes poked out.
Yeah, so that's pretty much done.
Well, they were all trying to beat up the only honest cop in this town.
Yep, pretty much O'Malley or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
his
and
name was.
he's got the mix between like he switches constantly between an Irish accent and a New York accent. He's like, the monster saved me from those crooks.
He's two characters in one. And so then,
decide.
yeah, so you decide. So then after that, basically the Toxic Avenger, it's the next day, and the Toxic Avenger's trying to like Melvin. Essentially, he's trying to go home to his mom, and his mom screams, freaks out, and he goes, "Oh, ma!" Like his voice actually changes.
Ma.
His voice gets really deep, and it's actually kind of funny. And so he ends up having like those moments in the movie where the good guys, like, you know, nobody
Walking the
likes
train
him.
tracks.
We're walking the train tracks all sad and shit, and then he ends up building himself like a lair over in the nuclear dumping ground.
The literal nuclear dumping ground.
Yep. And then that's when we see the mayor making a deal with
Other big corporate goons.
Yep, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna
We're gonna turn it into the new dumping ground into the place next to the reservoir." Like, you mean the place where you guys have drinking water?
Yeah, they don't even care. That's how evil they are.
Yeah. And then it cuts like even farther forward where we get the most gruesome like robbery scene at a
It's like a taco
Chinese pizza place.
Yep, there's like this big fat guy who's like over the top drinking out of a bottle of liquor, and then like his other like friends are behind the counter, and then it cuts to like these guys that come in. You have like what I call like the fucking clown squad from the fucking Big Top. You know?
Yeah.
They have this black guy who like looks like something out of Road Warrior, and then you have this guy that looks like a clown, and then the other guy who's like just like a
Normal.
fucking, like he's normal looking, but he's batshit fucking crazy.
He's like, so it's weird because like the one person who looks normal is just covered in leather.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, anyways, yeah, they start start killing people. You know, they're trying to kill people.
Fucking kill a dog, which I didn't like that.
No, that was brutal.
And then the seeing eye dog was for the blind girl who ends up being the love interest for the Toxic Avenger, and they're about to like rape her, and then the Toxic Avenger comes in there and fucking kicks their ass.
I love how he does like the stereotypical monster noises,
Yeah.
and then he starts beating the shit out of things. Like he tears off the black guy's arm,
Beats the shit out of him with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then, you know, after beating the shit out of them, he goes the extra mile. He starts like pouring milk, ice cream. He turns the guy into he turns Clownface into a human milkshake.
Yeah.
The next leather daddy guy, he gets his hand deep fried in the taco fryer, and then the black guy gets turned into a pizza.
Yep. Pretty much, and then the blind girl ends up going with Toxic Avenger, and they leave, and after they leave, it ends up becoming like this whole fucking thing where the cops are like trying to figure out what happened, and it's just a bunch of bad puns.
Just a bunch of bad puns. Also, the police chief is a German guy who constantly makes Nazi references.
Yep, constantly. But then we have like a sequence where they start to fall in love with each other, and they like have all these quirky things where she's like touching his dick and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Where she's touching.
She tried to touch his face. He's like, "Oh, I got acne. You don't want to touch that."
And she's like, "Oh, it's not a big deal."
I love when like after he kills that pimp trying to sell off that 12-year-old girl and his Cockney goons.
They just get in the back, and the driver's just like, "Okay." And then
I wasn't really evil. I just get paid to be here.
Yep, pretty much. I'm just as innocent as everybody else. And so he actually ends up getting his revenge against everybody, and the revenge is these like funny like scenes where you like it's basically like Jason Voorhees kills, but they're like fucking hilarious.
What he did to the when he was the best was when he was chasing that one chick in the gym basement.
Yep, he's like going up.
That was a very Nightmare on Elm Street thing. And then when she's behind the door and he smashes right through,
then he gets out scissors and I guess he fucks her up.
Well, remember they also had another like Friday the 13th moment, when he was wearing the hood over his head, and then he burned her on he burned her ass on the hot coals.
Yep.
Didn't he call her like you need to blow some steam, hot ass?
Yep, pretty much.
And he burns her ass on the coals in the sauna.
Yep, pretty much.
Oh, look at that. That's cute.
Yeah, the cat wants to be a part of the podcast.
It's just so cute. Your little paws just come up.
Yep. But basically what ends up happening later, though, is the two guys get their comeuppance, too. And they basically have a Terminator-like moment.
You want the wheel? Here you go. Breaks the wheel off.
Yeah, I think they got it a lot better than those two girls did, in my opinion. But yeah, they definitely get fucked up. The one guy gets thrown out of the car and like dies on the side of the road, and then his friend like drives off a cliff. Which, by the way, we were talking about in the previous episode. The '80s is the age of like
very flammable, exploding cars.
So like, yeah, they blew up, and the Toxic Avenger has superhuman powers, so he doesn't burn up at all, but the other guy does. Yeah, he just climbs right out. And then we get the weirdest montage of him
and the blind girl having sex and like starting a life.
And then he like dresses up in like a costume and he rips it off on the train tracks. I'm guessing that signifies that he's trying to have like an ulterior disguise. Like he's trying to he's got a different persona or something like that.
I love after he kills that like that lady in the laundromat.
Oh yeah, in the laundromat. It's like the really short lady, and he basically does this really bad pun where he throws her in a fucking washing machine, and he's like,
no ticky, no laundry.
Yeah, and like cleans her up, presses her, and she's dead. And then it ends up making all the townspeople mad at first because they're like, oh, she was a wonderful part of the community. And then they do some digging on her, and they're like, turns out
she's got 30 cases of white slavery under her.
Yep. So she was actually a fucking terrible human being.
And I love how he got home all distraught. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't stop killing.
Yep. He can't stop killing. And so by the end of the movie, they end up leaving their like radioactive waste area, and they have a tent. And then we figured out where most of the budget of the movie went. It went to the end of the movie where they have all the tanks and shit come out.
Which I'm pretty sure they like got some guys in the New York National Guard to show up.
Yep. I wouldn't doubt it. And basically, they all show up. The townspeople are there. Everybody's got their guns drawn, and they got the tanks pointed at the tent. And he comes out of the tent.
And O'Malley and his family save him.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, the mom's like, oh, don't hurt Melvin. The kids are like, we love him. We love the monster. And O'Malley's like, yeah, I love the monster too. And then we find out that the fucking mayor's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill this son of a bitch.
And he starts shooting him.
And it doesn't do anything because he's a superhero, has like superhuman abilities.
And then he's like, let's see if you got guts.
And punches him in the stomach, pulls those guts out.
Yeah,
and they go everywhere. And then he's like, book him, O'Malley, or whatever.
Fucking guts are pouring out of him.
Yep. And then that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, it's like, basically, don't get caught doing anything bad. Don't have bad thoughts in this town.
Don't go to Tromaville, and don't have any remote bad thoughts, or you will probably be killed by the fucking Toxic Avenger. He does not tolerate any kind of, shenanigans.
Except after he's done killing the one main bad guy and just lets the other bad guys live.
Yeah, like the chief cop didn't get anything. But hey, maybe in the next 3 or 4 movies that they have, maybe something does happen to him.
We'll see.
We haven't gotten that far yet. We'll have more.
There.
So we're going to do the dumb, cool, weird about the Toxic Avenger. So what's dumb about the Toxic Avenger?
Fuck, dude. That's a laundry list right there.
I think the dumbest thing about the Toxic Avenger is just how, like, the motivation of the mayor and, like, all the bad guys is just like,
crime.
We're bad guys. Crime.
Corruption. Evil.
But but I realize it's a really campy movie, so they were just kind of going with it. But in hindsight, it's pretty fucking dumb.
It's pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah.
The weirdest part is how how no one was ever able to stop him, but at the same time, it all made sense. They just kept giving him plot armor.
Yep.
But I think the greatest weird thing, most deranged thing, I think, is like those people that turned him, that got him like started into being the Toxic Avenger. How fucked up they were.
Yeah, that was weird. And then what also is really weird is how he would take the mop
and like jam it in their face.
Yeah, and then he would like basically send them, like he would kill them in like ironic ways. He would deep fry them and he'd cook them in the oven and then
or like scramble them with a milkshake machine.
Yep. Yeah, that was fucking weird.
Or when he burned that girl's ass on the sauna, he's like, you better sit that hot ass down, and then he just like burns her ass until she dies.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I think the coolest part of that movie is the practical explosions they did in that movie.
So
for the budget,
I would say the thing that was cool was the effects that they did to try and make it allude to like his kills being like in horror movies.
That was cool
when they referenced a lot of like the 80s horror movies like Freddy and Friday the 13th.
I also thought it was pretty cool how the people who made the movie were also able to get the local National Guard to just show up with all their like
there's no way that would have just happened without them.
Yep.
I think that's where all the budget went though.
Yeah, very much so. So that was a dumb cool weird about the Toxic Avenger. But yeah, Lloyd Kaufman and Trome Entertainment, thanks for a good movie.
That was a great movie.
And thanks for giving Crap Films a platform to have our movies. We really appreciate that. Along with, I have Retro Rad Films, but I've never sold any Retro Rad Films to you guys because it's a different type of thing. But I 100% recommend this movie. This movie is a classic example of a really low budget, like campy cult cinema movie becoming really viral. It had a really low budget and it made a good bit of money back in 1987, 1988, whenever it came out. And it has a pretty fucking kick-ass soundtrack. Like the intro and outro soundtrack is the same and it's fucking hilarious. It's good. Yeah. And I totally recommend watching this.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right. That was Toxic Avenger. Watch it. For the love of God. I don't know what you're doing. You should go watch it now.
You should do it.
So, sign us out, Nick.
Stay beautiful, sexy people. Or, I can't remember. I'm sleepy.
Yep. Thanks for checking out the Dumb Cool Weird podcast. We're a movie podcast now, so Movie Monday is every Monday about crappy movies from the 20th century. It's going to be great, folks. I can't wait to show y'all.